think that hit all 3 cars over there.
And see, that's what I'm talking about.
So it's super early in the morning. I think it's like Tuesday before power tour. You see I got the scoop and the air cleaners off the Camaro. I want to kind of document how the car is acting before we lock the distributor out, because I did a lot of research. I didn't really understand why you would want to lock your distributor out, or the process even for that matter, but the symptoms the car has, being big cam, tunnel ram, you can either have kick-ass idle, but then the car won't pull itself down the road until about 3,000 RPM, and then it becomes a rocket ship. Or it's idling at 1,500, but it runs like a scalded dog down the road. So I think locking out the timing will give the motor the initial timing it needs, and then maybe allow me to get it at least down to like 1,000 RPM, something livable. Right now it's a little much for the cruise in. I basically want to show you guys the symptoms that maybe you need to lock your distributor out also.
So here's the issue. Car's running great, but look at the RPM. We're at 1,300 RPM. That's as low as I can get it, and the carburetors are completely adjusted out for idle. So this is like the before scenario. Let's take it for a cruise. And see, that's what I'm talking about right there. But if you feed it more RPM, it's fine. Gotta have fifth gear. So 65 is 1,800 RPM.
Sorry for the lighting in here. I didn't really build this side of the shop to work in. Didn't really want to be working in here, but this is a pretty simple job. So we've got the distributor out finally. It's kind of cumbersome back there. Built-in tool tray though, pretty cool. So had to swap back and forth, right to left to get everything out. But we got the distributor out. Got it on the table. Before we remove the distributor, we marked the housing here against the block, and then we marked the rotor on the housing here. So we know exactly where the distributor has to go back in, because I feel the timing was pretty close. So I found the directions here. MSD gives you directions for locking out the centrifugal advance. So also, if you want to lock out the vacuum advance, see page 7. I'm not sure if we're going to do that. At this point, we're at least going to lock this out. You can see what happens here as the distributor rotates. These mechanisms fly out with centrifugal force, and you can change these springs, you can change these weights, you can fully tune it. But in our application, meaning big old cam, long intake runner, I think we're just gonna go ahead and lock it out. All right, how is this thing on there? I just know I'm gonna stab myself. What is holding the spring on? I think that hit all 3 cars over there. Now with the springs out of the way, you can see everything's free to rotate. Okay, there's a bushing there, bushing there. These probably slide right off. Well, they're supposed to slide right off. There we go. So the next step is kind of tricky. We need to pull this center. A terrible view there, don't you? Next part is kind of tricky. We got to pull this center piece out and rotate it and lock it back in so it can't mechanically advance like so. Tricky part is knocking this roll pin out. Obviously you don't want to damage anything. The best would be a punch. So I'm going to go lock this in a vise. I'm going to go lock this in a vise and we'll knock this pin out. Alright, so we've knocked the roll pin out. We've removed. We've tried to remove. There we go. Don't forget about this shim set here. Keep that the way it was. So the directions say pull it out. A couple inches and insert it 180 out. Well, we do have to remove that nut then. That I don't know what size it is because none of my wrenches fit it. It's got to be some weird metric size. Yep, it's a 9. So now we've removed this bushing, this washer, and this nut off of this stud. It says to spin it 180 and lock it into there. So now it doesn't say anything about putting the nut back on or anything. Oh, install the lock nut and washer on the advanced stop pin. Install the drive. Okay, so yep, it wants the washer. It couldn't be in a more painful spot. Alright, so that's nice and tight. That's back in. What was that? Oh, my clock. Alright, slide this back on. So at this point, we've knocked our roll pin back in. We have our nut tight. Very simple so far. Let's see. Install the drive gear and roll pin. That's it. So, time to bend back over the fender. Ugh. So of course I wasn't filming and it dropped right in absolutely perfect. Right on the marks I made on the housing and right on the marks I made on the intake. Never fails. So that's pretty much it. We'll cap off the vacuum advance. Also on the back of the carburetor there. The hood makes this kind of a pain in the ass. But we'll get this all reassembled and check out the street manners. See if we've made any improvements or not. So far Well, we just took the Blazer and the Camaro out. We did about 30 miles. It was amazing. No coughing, no sneezing. It does burble out the tailpipes a little bit when you get like fifth gear, slowed down to about 55 miles an hour, but it got up to 210 in traffic, but cooled right back down to 180. So obviously the big negative to locking out the timing is hot restarts, but let's try it. The car is fresh from a 25-mile drive. It is wow, she cools down fast. Let's see. No issues. So there you have it. You want to run a tonal ram, you want to run a big cam on the street, lock out the distributor. Excellent street manners now. Can't wait for Power Tour. We got 3 or 4 days left, and we'll be touring the countryside. See you guys there.